All right, here is our second myofascial release video, and this one I'm going to do supine on the ground. And I actually have notes from my training, so if I go over, look like I'm doing something on a computer over here, it's because I've got notes from my training. All right, great. So again, no anatomy lesson here, but lots of muscles all over our body that we can and muscles and fascias over the muscles. We've got a bodysuit of fascia, and so this technique is designed to help hydrate those tissues, to help tell those tissues what direction we want them to be strengthening in, and encourage and working on our range of motion, so they're helping us flow through life and our activities. Okay, so we've got these chest muscles, which you're specifically training in the program, and so I can put a ball down and then come into that muscle and just kind of rock a little bit. I can move my arm a little bit. My shoulder is connected to that muscle, right? So I'm just getting right into the chest muscles, which if you're a female, it's right here. The breasts would be over those muscles, right? And you want to do both sides of that muscle. It is called pectoral major, and then pectoral minor is a little bit more to the side. So, and again, we're always kind of just coming in and exploring and going by, where do I have sensation? I don't want to go into pain. If there's a spot that is very painful, I want to work around the spot that's particularly painful, but I'm interested in sensation, that and feeling the release of that sensation as I work with the balls. So pec major, pec minor, and then we've got a whole bunch on the back. I had mentioned that there's muscles that are over the shoulder blade, and they are in the back. And so I can just put this down, and I'm trying to come down so that it's under my shoulder blade. And I'm gonna just kind of work around and move around. Now I can lift up my hips, and that elevates me a little bit to work around these muscles. And I also can, I can also try the technique of using a block to lift my hips, right? While I'm in there exploring in this area. While I'm exploring in this area, I can also lift up my hips with a yoga block. So just exploring. Oh, I got all sorts of delicious things in there. I could linger longer if I wasn't making a video. And there, now what's interesting here is that there's muscles in here, and they come into and under the armpit. So I also might like one of these two things. I might like to have this so hopefully you have yoga blocks or something like that. So I can put this right under here, getting into those muscles, but then I can rest my head while I work in this area on the block. So that's, feels really good. And I also can use this yoga block for release as well, because I can just put my armpit right over it and just kind of rock back and rock forward. And there's all kinds of muscles, both smaller and longer, that I'm interacting with here. If I just kind of rock back and forth. And I particularly am finding stronger sensation back, so I might want to linger back a little bit and just spend a little bit of time back here. Great. Now, supraspinatus is, I know it, no anatomy, but it's another rotator cuff muscle, and it's right up here, and it can be challenging to get into. So it's another one where I might want a yoga block underneath my hips, so that when I come down, I can, so I'm trying to get this pretty high. And I actually can do both balls. I can do both sides, it's a, twin muscle. I can do both sides. Oh yeah. So get right into that supraspinatus. So the balls are right here, right up. Supraspinatus is near trapezius, which might be more familiar to you. So that would be supraspinatus. I was up on the block. Okay, the view is what the view is. Now, subscapularis is a real tricky one, but it can really affect people. It's another rotator cuff muscle. So the rotator cuff muscles hold this arm bone in place, and this one is it's really underneath here. It's on the inside of the shoulder blade, if you can believe it, right? So to get into it, what I can do is I want to elevate a little bit with this block, and then I'm going to put this ball down, and then I'm looking for it into the ball. So I'm trying to come down and come into it in the ball. You can see that as well as it can be seen. There's the ball, and then it's disappearing into my armpit. And we're getting into subscapularis. All right. Okay, great. Again, the same thing I did on the wall, I can do on the ground with one or both. If I want to do both sides, I can do both sides, or I can do one side. So I'm going to come down on the balls. I want them fairly high to start with, and then I can push my hips up so I can rock back and forth. Whoa, this is very rich. Super rich territory, right? And then I can, so I can either lift my hips and rock myself back and forth, or I can put a block under my hips to elevate myself and just stay in a position. That would be the second alternative. I showed deltoids on the wall, so kind of same thing. Let's say I wanted to do the front of my deltoid. I can come right down on it on the ball, so I'm doing the front of my deltoid there, or roll around to the side of my deltoid, roll around to the back of my deltoid. We have long muscles on our backs, latissimus dorsi, and option number one actually was this first option I gave you. This pretty much gets into it, but if I would like it a little more strongly, I can do it this way with just the ball. So I can put the ball, it hooks in right under my armpit. Oh yeah, there it is. I can put it there with the ball, just like that. And if I need something, if I want to support my head, I can support my head with a block and be there. All right. You can ask me any questions. Okay. So my triceps are the back of my arm here. So I can I can do it two ways. So one would be so I'm taking the back of my arm right under there, so just down there on the ground, and I also can elevate. I also can do it on a block to get into my triceps. Moving on to the front of my arm, which is my biceps. So the easiest way for me to do that is to flip around, and I can set my ball on there, and there I am moving into my biceps. And my teacher also shows it. It might be helpful if I had a blanket or a towel that I could elevate that on. Oop, that's off screen. Elevate that off to get into my biceps. Now, the whole, we focus the most in our training on, in terms of our arms, we focus a lot on our biceps and our triceps, but I can sit up, maybe use the block, or I can have a table, and I can do some massaging in my forearm area too, staying away from this tendinous area down here. I can do it with a ball. I also kind of just can lobster claw my arm and do it that way. All right. So, and then everything, all this upper back stuff, I can do as well, same thing with a foam roller. So anything in so I can sort of start up higher, and then same thing, probably kind of come up on my hips and work this way. So I can do that on a foam roller. That feels pretty good. And same thing, I can support the block under my hips if I want to sort of stay in a place on it, although it's rolling, so there's that to contend with. Let me use the balls to get a little more specific as I move a little bit lower. So we have lots of delicious and important supportive muscles in our lower back that are part of our spine structure, and so I can find, and I'm looking for tender spots, right? So I'm going to always move around until I find something tender. So I can find something in this is quadratus lumborum, so it's an important muscle in my lower back, and I can maybe just bring I'm just bringing my knees to the side a little bit and stretching out a little bit, and just, ooh, beautiful being there on that spot. So I'm doing that with one ball on one side. So I would do the other side with another ball. And we've, so I used either side of the spine, I can go from here all the way down, right? With the balls and my glutes, I can do a number of things. So I can work on, I can come up on the ball, and I'm working the glute med, the side of my hip, right? I can work around, put it on the bullseye, work the back of my hip. And if I'm working the back, I could probably just be on both balls at the same time. Either stretch my legs out, try it that way, try it with my knees bent, whatever serves me. Right, so balls on the bullseyes. And we can great. So there are all kinds of muscles in here, and I can, so rectus abdominis is from here to my pubic bone. Transversus abdominis is across here, so as is in here too. So I can, if I'm not pregnant, I can come down and kind of just explore territory, right? So the ball is just kind of underneath there, and I'm just sort of exploring territory with the ball, and going from sensation and going for how it feels, finding all kinds of delicious locations there, in this front of body area. I think it's often useful to just do kind of one side and then do the other side, because you might find there's reasons why you have differences in the sensations. So for my hamstrings with the balls, I can go ahead and be rolling the hamstring under the ball, and I might like to elevate it on a block. That might feel good to elevate it on a block. So that would be another option for my hamstrings. And for my quadriceps, complicated stuff, I talked about my crummy right knee. So I'm gonna kind of come around. So this is gonna be harder to see, but the ball is, you can see the ball is kind of under my knee. So I'm just trying to manipulate around, again, in different territories, finding where I have sensation in this whole region. And I can come all the way up in my quadriceps. And one of my quadricep muscles does come into the hip rectus femoris. So that would be in this area that you can stimulate. And I can get the calf similar to the hamstring, where I can just do it this way, or I can do it on a block. And as I mentioned, I can do most of these things also with the foam roller on the ground. So I can do my glutes on the foam roller, just like this, and maybe I kind of lift a leg, so just kind of move around a little bit, use my arms, move around a little bit. I can do a figure 4 shape and move around, right? So that's the glute stretching shape that you're familiar with, pigeon, reclined pigeon. So I can just move around, and I can use this for my hamstrings by just kind of really, like just rolling back and forth to get my hamstrings, and I can go back and forth to get my calves, and then I can flip around and work on my quadriceps in a similar manner. So working on my quadriceps. Okay, so that is your supine myofascial release videotape, and I'll put some more information in the vault as well about myofascial release.